Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I am one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, is the Jotun Toten Vault Dwelling Mayor of the Deepstone Crypt, the Spartan Slaying, the best co-host on the Citadel, that man with no more blues, Josh Finney.
God, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we get to talk about auto-dismantled blues tonight.
Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, dude, you
Corey,
have no idea. You have no idea how happy I was when I saw the sweeper bot sweeping up all the blues, that image that was floating around. And I was like...
It's pretty great.
I'm like, thank God. Because I knew that's what was happening before I even read the TWAB today. The TWAB. But, like, I was like, thank God blues are gone. Thank God.
Yeah, I mean, they're not completely gone, but this is a solution for right now. We know more solutions are coming down the road, but I'm very, very excited about this. Let's dive into all the news of this week, because this has been a crazy week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is a packed show, so strap in.
This really is. We're not doing any pre-show banter. Nothing at the top. I promise. There's no Mass Effect minutes. We are diving straight in because
good.
Mass Effect good. There you go. That's your Mass Effect take for tonight. Corey and I had to convene for an emergency pod on Tuesday over on the Arsenal X feed for the Boss Rush Network, because we woke up to the news that Microsoft has entered into not even negotiations into an agreement, a tentative agreement pending approval by the SEC and the FEC, and EU regulatory committees to buy Activision Blizzard King. That is wild.
That's a big get.
To the tune of $68.7 billion. Billion with a B. Like, that is 9 Bethesdas. That is
By
9
the way,
Bethesdas.
Did you read today that this acquisition will put Microsoft over the $2 trillion market cap?
I did. They
So
I
stupid.
think this
What does $2 trillion look like?
This has moved Microsoft into like second or third in the most valuable companies in the world list. It's like them, Apple, and Amazon make up the top 3, I think, for market cap.
Yeah, I think it flops
wild.
between them and Apple right now, for sure.
It definitely does. This was news that, we never expected to read. I mean, it's similar to the reaction we had 18 months ago with the Bethesda news. We never expected to read this. Acquiring a studio is one thing. Acquiring a publisher is something entirely different, especially when you consider that this publisher owns Call of Duty, Diablo, Overwatch, World of Warcraft,
Candy Crush.
all of King's mobile business. Yeah, fucking Candy Crush. Game Pass Gary's wife definitely plays a lot of Candy Crush.
Game Pass Gary's wife just got acquired.
Listen, microtransaction Michelle has joined the fight. Okay, it's happening, and I think the immediate question that a lot of us had was, how does this impact the gaming landscape? And of course, one of our favorites, Paul Tassi, immediately wrote an article saying, what would have to hypothetically happen for Microsoft to acquire Bungie? And I'm gonna say right now, I read this 2 days ago when I was half asleep. I don't quite remember what it said, but essentially, the first thing I said to Corey was, this confirms to me that the news we reported to you way back in 2020, like the early days of Tower Casuals, and like the first 15 episodes, was that Microsoft was exploring acquiring Bungie again. And we had heard that the asking price was too high. For me, this confirms one thing, and that is that Bungie asked for more than $1 billion. That is the only way I can think of that Microsoft thought a single studio was too expensive.
Yeah.
Is that this was more than $1 billion. It was a multi-billion-dollar proposal. This, to me, this pretty firmly puts Bungie in control of their own destiny. No pun intended. They know their value. If anybody won out of this that is not Microsoft, Bungie won by association. They outside of Battlefield, are now probably the biggest first-person shooter out there that is not owned by Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything
Full
else.
stop.
I mean, Battlefield, I guess, could be up there, but like, I think in terms of what happened to Battlefield 2042 and them just kind of restructuring everything, like Battlefield is kind of like probably fifth or sixth on a list of games that people want to play in terms of first-person shooters at this point.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. Like, Microsoft has effectively made it to where if you want to enjoy quality FPS games, you have to have an Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. And it was like that before Call of Duty, but now you're going to tell me that the best place to play Call of Duty and Overwatch is going to be on Xbox? Like, there's probably going to be Game Pass perks. You're probably going to get multiplayer maps for Call of Duty there early.
Imagine the Overwatch loot boxes alone that you're going to get through Game Pass. Like, it's going to be a monthly Game Pass perk. There's going to be probably like exclusive skins that you can get through Game Pass.
I mean, they're going to take the deal that Sony and Call of Duty currently have when it runs out, and that's going to become a Game Pass perk. It's a PS Plus perk now. It's going to become a Game Pass perk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's the deal now? What's the deal now? Like, what's the deal that they have now with Call of Duty? I don't even know.
I mean, they do betas and alphas. There's skins, I believe. There's double XP weekends.
Yeah, okay, that kind of stuff. I thought you meant like.
I do believe they have early DLC access, but I'm not entirely sure. Don't get your pitchforks if I'm wrong. I don't know the details of it because, guys, I haven't played Call of Duty in like 10 years. I don't know what Call of Duty's deal is anymore. The last time I played them, they were still showing off water physics at Xbox E3 shows. So I don't quite know. But I think if you're Bungie, you've got to be loving what's happening right now. Like, nobody was happier about this than Pete Parsons. Number one, Pete's got to be sitting here going, okay, we got out of that toxic relationship. We are thriving. Our game is the best it's ever been. And Bobby's getting taken to the cleaners. Mm-hmm. On top of this, we find out everything that we're discussing happened after we recorded on Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
We find out that at some point talks between Bobby Kotick and Phil Spencer were happening, and we don't know. I'm not quite sure what side this came from. There's three different camps in these stories, right? Mm-hmm. There's Microsoft, there's the Activision board, and there's Bobby Kotick. Mm-hmm. That Bobby and Phil had talked, and Phil had made an offer to acquire them, and Bobby started calling every single tech company he could think of, asking them to buy them instead of Microsoft, which is hilarious.
Yeah, wasn't Meta one of them? Wasn't Meta like his first choice or something?
I think he definitely called good old Zuck. Called Zuckerberg. I'm pretty sure he called Amazon. But the asking price was too much. Like, it literally came out in the story, like nobody was going to pay more than what Microsoft was willing to. Mm-hmm. I don't know what he thought he could get for the company that was more than what Microsoft is doing, which is insane.
From what I hear, like Kotick didn't want to sell to Microsoft, but the board did.
Yeah, so that's the second part of this. Is it comes out like an hour or two later. I'm not even kidding. Like a couple hours later, maybe the following morning, it comes out. Jeff Grubb over at GamesBeat breaks the news that Bobby was becoming entrenched. He didn't want to sell. He was being advised by people last fall to consider selling the company or at least stepping down. Didn't want to do any of that. And so the implication I got is the board goes behind his back, calls Microsoft to make a deal, basically goes, we have enough to override him with a veto, and we're going to do it. And the deal came together very quickly over the Christmas holidays.
Yeah, it was like, what, 8 weeks? 8 weeks? It started in November.
Yeah, the latest that these talks could have been like getting solidified and starting the framework of a deal was probably around Thanksgiving, I would say.
Yeah.
I think, there were already stories mounting last year. The sexual harassment and assault stories that came out of Blizzard were kind of the tipping point. And of course, you had Jen O'Neill resigning from Blizzard. While this framework is being worked out, Jen O'Neill's resigning from Blizzard over pay dispute and, misogynistic practices and things like that. All this is happening. And then in the middle of all of it, you have, of course, the rest of us going, okay, we've spent a couple days talking about, the human side of this story. Like, that's definitely what, Corey and Stoy and I were focusing on when we did our reaction to this. But what actually happens to Call of Duty? Like, this is, and unfortunately, I really hate that we have to ask this, but Call of Duty by itself is probably more valuable than all of Bethesda was in terms of market cap.
Oh God, yeah.
King is more important than that.
Look at it this way. Not Vanguard, but last year's Call of Duty outsold the entirety of Skyrim out of all of its run.
In 1 year.
Less than a year.
Yeah.
How many copies has Skyrim sold? Like 20 million copies, and Call of Duty beat it in 1 year?
We're pretty close to 30 with Skyrim. I don't know that Black Ops Cold War beat it, but the Modern Warfare reboot absolutely beat it.
Oh, yeah. It must have been 2 years ago then. Yeah, Modern Warfare. I always forget.
That was the statistic I was citing in our reactions. Yeah. Like, the Bethesda deal was, I think there was a lot more buzz in the industry around the Bethesda deal, like, of criticism, because those are like we said, those are kind of like more the like premier franchises like Elder Scrolls and Fallout. And like, yes, Elder Scrolls and Fallout do have mainstream appeal for Western RPGs. They really do. But that's a candle to King. That's a candle to the reach that King has, to Call of Duty, what it does every single year, plus Warzone on top of that now. We have to remember that. It's look at the reach that Overwatch has now. Look at the reach that Diablo has, that World of Warcraft has. Like, this is massive. But this one, it's kind of funny that, like, we're sitting here and, like, the tables have kind of shifted. Like, the fanboys, I don't see really, like, going in on this. Maybe it's because I've curated my feed a whole lot in the last year and a half. But I don't see them going in on this because I think we're all still in a collective shock of, is this even going to be allowed to go through? Like, this is certainly going to face more scrutiny than the Bethesda one did. Like, U.S. senators have been commenting on it today. There were new antitrust regulations that literally went into effect like a couple of months ago, both here and in the EU. So I'm curious to see if this is allowed to go through. We're hearing that Bobby is, like, entrenched at Activision, that he's telling people, like, even after the acquisition is complete, like, it's come out that he's gone. The second the ink is dry, he's gone. And that he wants to stay on as an advisor to Phil and things like that. This is the PR equivalent of Michael Jordan dunking from the free throw line to be the one to get rid of Bobby Kotick, to get him out of the industry. Like, he's gonna exit with a giant golden parachute that's
like $300 million, I think.
Yeah, I think 250 is like the starting floor for it.
No, I think some reports were reporting it would be like $290 to $300 million.
Yeah, and again, this is all the low end of the estimations. I've seen estimations and stipulations in his contract, if those figures were correct, that were coming out on Tuesday afternoon, that he stands to make as much as $400 million from his exit. God. And that's fucking wild. He put that in his contract himself. Like, it has been confirmed that he put that in there.
Of course.
Because he never planned to leave, obviously.
Yeah.
He likened it an all hands on deck. It's clear that Bobby is just, like, completely cracking under this because he didn't want it. That in an all hands meeting today with all of Activision Blizzard employees, he was trying to, answer employee questions. Almost every single question was about, are you going to be out of here before the transition is complete or not? Activision employees are getting very concerned about the damage that he can wreak in the next year while he is still there, because they have to continue operations as normal. And it's crazy. I want to read a little bit from Jason Schreier's piece that he wrote this afternoon over at Bloomberg. He kind of recaps the situation that we had going into all this, that of course we've talked about multiple times on this show. Once Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard closes, Kotick is expected to exit. That news alone may be enough for the struggling publisher to retain staff who were wavering, a sentiment expressed by most of the employees who talked to Bloomberg this week, who requested anonymity because they are not authorized to speak to the press. Employees from Activision Blizzard's various studios said they expect Phil Spencer, who was promoted to CEO of Microsoft Gaming on Tuesday, to be a stronger leader than Kotick. Several pointed to Microsoft's successful acquisition of independent studios such as Double Fine and Obsidian, which have been mostly allowed to operate autonomously. Others said they are cautiously optimistic, but also upset that Kotick would still be in charge for at least the next 6 months. Microsoft expects the deal to close in its next fiscal year, which runs from July 2022 to June 2023. If we can do a side note, the estimation that we had is this will certainly take longer than the Bethesda deal. Yeah, this will take longer than the Bethesda deal to close, for sure. That took 6 months from the announcement to the close. Mm-hmm. If you were to do that, if you were to say 6 months, it would close like right as San Diego Comic-Con is happening in July. That's not happening.
Right.
This will not close by Gamescom in August. I do think that Phil is like on his hands and knees, crossing his fingers, praying to every god, both real, fictional, and made up, that this closes before the first week of November when
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 comes out and they can stick it on Game Pass.
Not just stick it on Game Pass, but he can be like, Call of Duty is home, my friends.
Yeah.
Because I will note, Xbox is the only console where you can play every single Call of Duty. Call of Duty 1 was ported as an Xbox Live Arcade game called Call of Duty Classic, and Call of Duty 2 was a console-exclusive launch title with the 360. It had almost a 1-1 attachment rate. Fun fact there. Microsoft, however, now inherits the cultural crisis that Activision has faced over the last... Kotick briefed all hands meeting on Thursday morning that Microsoft has been on its own journey to improve its workplace, according to a transcript reviewed by Bloomberg. Many of the problems within Blizzard Entertainment's Battle.net division, which was known for rampant use of alcohol and bad behavior, was caused by a group of people who previously worked at Xbox. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella and Phil Spencer both made assurances at the time of the announcement that creating an inclusive culture in gaming was a priority for the combined company. Kotick, who is publicly accused of threatening a subordinate and protecting a studio head accused of sexual harassment, has lost the trust of some of his staff to fix any cultural problems at Activision. Some employees believe he is responsible for many of them. The acquisition may also be transformative for the business strategy of Activision Blizzard, which is another boost to morale. Under Kotick, the franchise released a new game in blockbuster Call of Duty franchise every year, helping the series sell more than 400 million units. 400 million units.
That's a lot.
Let that sink in. And so we know that 1 and 2 weren't mega hits. They sold I think 6-7 million maybe combined. So and 3 wasn't a huge hit. Modern Warfare is really where it took off.
Yeah, I was going to say Modern Warfare was because I remember when Modern Warfare came out, we were all still playing Halo 3 right when that came out, and everybody was like, what's this modern military shooter? And everybody was like, oh man, Call of Duty Modern Warfare seems awesome. And everybody moved from Halo 3 to Call of Duty, it felt like.
So I'm gonna estimate that puts us at about 14 titles since Modern Warfare. That is an average of 28.5 million units sold per game. If you add in the 3 that we removed, that number probably goes down to about 24 or 25. That is absurd. That is fucking ludicrous. That's not counting the Warzone player base. That's not counting Call of Duty Mobile or Call of Duty Online, which was a thing in China and South Korea. Yeah. This is insane. Insane. On average, each Call of Duty installment sells more than any other console exclusive that's not called Mario Kart or Animal Crossing New Horizons. That's insane.
Yeah.
That is insane to me. It led to brutal overtime for workers at companies such as Treyarch and Infinity Ward. High-level employees at Activision have discussed moving away from the annual release schedule, according to 2 people familiar with discussions. Nothing has been finalized yet. There's a belief among many Call of Duty developers that releasing games at a slower cadence will please players and bolster the franchise, particularly after the week launch of Vanguard, which saw a 36% decline from 2020's entry in UK sales charts. That shift may not happen until next year or later, as this year's Call of Duty is expected to redeem the franchise's fortunes. Slowing down the release schedule may lighten developers' intense workloads and provide new opportunities for game makers to work on other titles. And I mean, it's various things. It's a really good piece. I want everybody to go read this. The last paragraph I want to read. which is something that we've absolutely talked about before. Lots of questions linger. Several Activision Blizzard employees wondered if the acquisition would lead to job cuts, which Microsoft has not addressed. Kotick said in the meeting that Microsoft is committed to trying to retain as many of our people as possible. Others said they wouldn't be happy until the company paid fair salaries, particularly in departments such as quality assurance, where some say they don't make a livable wage. Testers at Ray Software in Madison, Wisconsin, have been on strike for a month and a half following job cuts last year, whom the company has so far ignored. Employees at Activision are still working to unionize, an effort that may take different shapes across the company, and one that Microsoft hasn't deterred, that the Microsoft acquisition has not deterred. In the Thursday meeting, Kotick did not acknowledge his role in Activision's cultural crisis or say whether he would step down after the acquisition. He said, "There was nothing more important to me other than my children than Activision Blizzard. This is going to be a great journey," he said. Bobby, you're gone. I'm sorry, you're gone. I'm not sorry, actually. Fuck Bobby Kotick. Okay,
all my homies you're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. I'm used to apologizing off the cuff. No, fuck Bobby Kotick. Nobody is sorry to see you go. Nobody actually likes you in this industry. I promise you, nobody actually likes you. The things that you have allowed to happen under your watch as CEO are reprehensible and despicable. Yes, I know that a lot of these things happen at most major companies, especially in tech and entertainment. That does not excuse these things happening underneath Bobby's watch when we have written records of people asking him to intervene and step in and do something about this, and he refused to repeatedly in the name of retaining people in the old boys club, essentially. So I don't feel bad about this. This is a welcome change. And I'd like to note the difference between the Bethesda acquisition and the Activision one. With Bethesda, our questions were, okay, well, where did the games go? Like, the workers are happy. They retained all the staff. They didn't lay people off. In fact, they're on a hiring spree for them right now, actually. The culture seemed to be good, and morale seems to have even improved over there. It was already pretty good at those studios, I feel. Here, we're going, okay, how does this impact the people? How does this impact, the lawsuits that are going on, the allegations? Are we getting rid of the CEO or not? Whereas with Bethesda, we're like, God, please keep the leadership. What? And then the secondary concern very much has been, okay, well, what happens to Call of Duty? And then everything else. I mean, I think we all assumed everything else was going exclusive, but what happens to Call of Duty? And to a lesser extent, what happens to Overwatch 2?
Right.
And then Phil Spencer himself came out this after. Last thing I'm going to say on the whole deal. Phil Spencer comes out this afternoon and says, I want to read exactly word for word what his tweet was. I don't want to misrepresent it because there is a lot of room for interpretation here. Had good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honor all existing agreements upon the acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry and we value our relationship. This was born out of two things. Sony made a comment this morning at about 4 o'clock this morning is when it came out. I assume during Japanese business hours, where they said, we're really hoping that Microsoft stays committed to, existing agreements and to keeping Activision Blizzard franchises multi-platform. They did not issue a statement like this after the Blizzard acquisition, and that they know how big Call of Duty is. PlayStation is the home of Call of Duty right now.
Mm-hmm.
They are partnered with Call of Duty League. They get the PS Plus bonuses. They get the early pre-order bonuses. They get the alphas. They get the betas. They get the free XP weekends, things like that. They know how important that deal was for them when they did not have they still don't have a major multiplayer game that is exclusive that is actually good. Mm-hmm. So I think they know, and they're a little worried. I mean, that's billions of dollars that are at stake for everybody. So, Microsoft would be fools to pull it, I think, altogether. But that doesn't mean you can't give bonuses to your Xbox players. And then Phil also did an interview with the Washington Post yesterday that was published today, in which he basically said, I don't see Sony as our competition. Sony is not our enemy. We are partners. Right. He goes, I'm worried about these non-gaming companies coming in. Netflix, Google, Amazon, Apple, companies that do not understand gaming.
That's been the very beginning, with the whole Project xCloud initiative, right? Right. He said that when they started that, or they kind of announced that initiative, was yes. Hey, Sony's not our primary competitor anymore. It's Google,
Right.
it's Amazon, right, with Luna and Stadia, and obviously like we've kind of seen how those fluttered. But that tech, if like the big thing is if Google can partner with someone for that tech to go alongside, like if Sony partnered with Google or Amazon alongside that tech, right, that would be huge. That would be a huge competition.
Which I
Microsoft.
do expect. I expect the Stadia tech to come into play there at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So, Corey, any final thoughts on this? I mean, this is the third time for you that you've talked about it this week. And I'm sure we've got one more coming up this weekend.
Our whole Arsenal X for this weekend is kind of like, I mean, obviously the last episode that you were on with us was like a total reaction in the middle of the day, mere hours after it happened, where I think this whole show is just going to be about, you know, we've had a couple days to think about it.
The fallout.
What is good, what is bad, what is ugly about this, and kind of just soaking it in. And we're also
King is like secretly the most important part of this acquisition.
Yeah. We've already discussed that in Discord. And we're also going to do an Xbox Studio draft for funsies.
Yeah. So, guys, too, if you want to hear more of our thoughts on Activision Blizzard, we did do. I'm very proud of the reaction pod that we did. It's one of my favorite episodes I think I've ever done. Breaking things down. I feel like I'm Steve Kronowski from what is it? From NBC's election night coverage when he's wearing his khakis and he's got his big election board up and he's breaking down all the counties by demographics.
Right.
That's what I was in the zone.
Right.
I don't know that Corey and I have ever been more on point than we were in the middle of the afternoon chugging Red Bulls.
Dude, I was chugging a Red Bull on my break from lunch, and I text Josh. I'm like, Josh, get on. You're like, give me a minute. I just walked in the door, and then Stoy joined us like 10 minutes later because he was at work. He actually
from the parking garage at work.
Yeah. So I highly recommend it. I might just stick the link to that episode in the show notes to this show because it was so good. Like it was one of our best episodes in a long time, Josh. So
it really was. It's one of my favorite pods I've ever done. So not to self promote too much, but I think it was really good. It comes in around the 40-45 minute mark. It's really good. Mm-hmm. So think of this as like a part 2 to that part 1.
Yeah.
But Corey, this is of course a Destiny podcast, and we do have a lot of Destiny to talk about tonight.
I know. I'm surprised we spent that long on this because there's so much Destiny
we did. I get really long-winded.
I mean, it's fine. I don't care.
I love talking about the industry. I love breaking down business ideas and impacts and practices.
I love talking about all this stuff. You know me.
Let's jump on into the TWAB. The TWAB itself is actually kind of short, but we have a lot of stuff condensed in here this week. So
dense TWAB.
The first thing, the TWAB. We're gonna talk power levels first, okay? Because that's the shortest thing here and the quickest thing to go through. If you need a refresher on what floor, soft cap, power cap, and hard cap do, they're in there. I'm assuming if you're listening to a Destiny podcast, you understand these terms, and I don't need to break those down. Starting with the launch of the Witch Queen. I hate you. Starting February 22nd with the launch of the Witch Queen, the power floor will be updated to 1350, which is currently the hard cap for us right now. Excuse me, that's not even the hard cap. That is roughly around where I am with my artifact right now. I'm like 1353, I think, total. And I've got like a plus 22 on mine. 1330 is the hard cap. Sorry. 1330 is the hard cap without artifact power. Any player who signs in will be at appropriate power levels to start the Witch Queen campaign, even if they take a break from the game. Through general gameplay, players can reach the soft cap of 1,500 by earning gear through activity completions, chests, and more, including rare and legendary drops. Once reaching the soft cap, players will need to earn powerful drops from vendor challenges and other objectives in the game, of course. Once reaching the power cap of 1,550, only upgrades players will find are from endgame activities that offer pinnacle rewards. And the final stretch to 1560 will be through raids, Trials of Osiris, Iron Banner, and other endgame PvE sources. There will be adjustment to pinnacle and powerful sources as these shift yearly to focus on newer seasonal content and fresh Destiny expansion content offered with Witch Queen. Keep an eye on tooltips as you start completing activities, as they'll specifically note the different types of rewards that they offer. We have no doubts our more eager players will create guides within a week of launch, but we hope the power climb is fairly easy to understand once you get your boots on the ground February 22nd. So, I don't think we need to go into detail there. It's pretty cut and dry.
Yep.
1,500, you start at 1,350, 1,500, 1,550, 1,560. And that's not including artifact power. Artifact power will be turned off for the raid. We're going to get to raid in just a minute.
Oof.
We're going to talk economy, though. This is the big in here. Economy changes. I'm very excited for this. Beginning in the Witch Queen, blue rewards will stop dropping from playlist activities, which are Crucible Strikes, Gambit, etc. Once players have reached a soft cap, 1,500. Players above the soft cap will instead see a slightly increased chance at receiving legendary rewards from these activities or a small amount of legendary shards. Blue weapons and armor will continue to drop from enemies and chests while playing Destiny 2, but we hope that this will reduce the need for players to manage their inventories and reduce the frequency of visits to the Postmaster while running playlist activities. We have work ahead of us when it comes to rarity as a subject in Destiny 2. While blue gear helps players increase their power earlier in the game, we want to look at their place in the overall game. We aren't expecting any major changes in the next few seasons, but we'll be spending some time behind the scenes thinking about the future of rare drops all up. This is a Band-Aid. Let's call it what it is. It's Band-Aid, but I'm very excited for this because I don't really start grinding playlist activities until I'm above the soft cap.
Right.
You will reach the soft cap usually just by playing the campaign and by doing a handful of like strikes here and there, or playing a bunch of Crucible like I probably will. You will level up pretty quickly doing that. So I'm excited to blow through it in like a day or two just so I don't get blues from those anymore. Mm-hmm. And I can just get those sweet shards or get an extra. I'm reading this as an extra chance at playlist weapons, which already don't have a great drop rate.
Right.
If I don't have to run 15 strikes to get a royal entry, I'll be really happy. Gunsmith reputation. This one took me a little by surprise.
Yeah.
Banshee is getting a new reputation system that matches other vendors in the tower, like Zavala and Shaxx. Good. We have called for this several times already because we really, really like how the rewards tracks work. This means we're removing some of the items previously associated with Gunsmith reputation, namely Gunsmith materials and weapon telemetry. Players will now earn reputation rank progress with Banshee when dismantling legendary and exotic weapons and armor or by completing daily Gunsmith bounties. Spend your Gunsmith materials and weapon telemetries at Banshee before February 22nd, as any materials that are not spent will be removed from the inventory automatically.
Ooh.
Ooh.
You know what I wish
I've
they
seen
would do?
a lot of... Go ahead. Go.
I wish there was like a conversion rate where like they would just add that to your reputation. Yeah. Like, you know, that I think that's kind of annoying.
Well,
and I know that's probably really hard for them to do. Probably
I think
on like
it's
a
really
back
hard,
end.
but also you're gonna have people like me who, no joke, have 50,000 weapon parts. In our inventories.
I think that's fine though. Like I think that's okay if you play that much. I think you should be rewarded for it. No offense.
I think having the reward tracks makes that really difficult to do though, unfortunately, because if you give too little, you're like, oh, what the fuck? If you give too many, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe that you just let somebody blow through all their rewards that quickly. I think it's kind of a tricky thing. I don't know. I will personally spend a lot of mine because there are still some world drops I'm looking for good rolls on. But man, I take the advice of everybody who's been saying it today. You don't need all those legendary shards. Just let these things get deleted. You will be okay. Mods and mod components. Mod components will be removed from the game as well. Starting in the Witch Queen, weapon and armor mods sold by Banshee and Ada will no longer require mod components to purchase and will cost 10,000 Glimmer each. Furthermore, as part of this update, we are increasing the number of mods available on each vendor at a single time from 2 to 4. It should be noted that all ghost mods that generated weapon telemetries will be removed as they no longer serve a purpose. Good. We needed to sell more. There's simply too many mods in the game to only sell 2 a day. Increasing that to 4, pretty good deal because they sell different mods. So cool. I do think that this highlights something. I was going to save this for later, but I think this is a good place to insert it. That we need an increase on the Glimmer cap. 250,000 simply is not enough Glimmer anymore. I'm glad that we have uses for Glimmer, but it's simply not high enough anymore, especially for players who are playing catch-up. And don't tell me you need to just use Rainmakers. Nobody uses Rainmakers. They're useless. I don't know what needs to happen, but Glimmer needs to come from more sources. We're talking like you need to give out like 3,000 to 5,000 for like playlist activity completions if this is how much it's going to be. You shouldn't have to have extra mods on your Ghost to get a chance at like an extra 200 Glimmer to drop. So don't get me wrong, glad that we got Glimmer being used, but we need to have that dropping more reliably in bigger chunks, in my opinion. As we've mentioned in the past, Master Rahul will inherit Spider's material exchange duties in the Witch Queen. Exchange rates should match what you know from Spider for now. That's a little ominous. But these services are being shifted to the tower as the Tangle Shore will be off limits to Guardians. In addition, Rahul will also pick up some of the wares that Banshee and Ada once offered, specifically the sale of enhancement prisms and ascendant shards. This makes space for more mods to be available for purchase during a given week. Rahul will offer these materials at the same price as Banshee and Ada once sold them. As a final note, Master Rahul will also be able to decrypt Umbral Ingrams, so players will not have to hop between the Helm and Tower to decrypt all of the Ingrams in their inventory. Let's hold the thank gods. Focusing for individual seasonal weapons and armor will live on as seasonal vendors in the Helm moving forward. So if you want to focus on a specific weapon from a given season, you'll still need to head to the Helm. This does not change for like 95% of us.
I mean, for me, it's fine. I have the God roll weapons from those seasons that I wanted, so I'm fine.
Yeah, we're gonna talk God rolls in just a minute. Well,
oh God, no!
Because we got to remember that we are gonna have brand new seasons and weapons and armor to get out of Umbral Ingrams going forward. We don't know how weapon crafting is going to impact this whole system. I'm very excited to get my hands on the Witch Queen, specifically for the loot, because I think it's going to change and redefine everything that we know. And this is answering another question. I like how they're answering some of my questions before we even get to the main topic tonight. Hawkmoon and Dead Man's Tale. As of February 22nd, the Harbinger and Presage exotic missions will no longer be accessible. The team wanted to preserve the ability for players to obtain random rolls of these weapons. Therefore, instead of adding these weapons to Monument to Lost Lights, as we have done with most of our previous exotics that no longer have sources, these two weapons will be part of Xur's inventory each and every weekend. Every week, Xur will offer a unique roll for both Hawkmoon and Dead Man's Tale and will be purchasable to all players that own Beyond Light for the following materials. 125,000 Glimmer, 200 Legendary Shards, 1 Ascendant Shard, 1 Exotic Cipher. I think that's fair. Because let's be honest, there's like 1, maybe 2 rolls that you really, really, really want for Dead Man's Tale. Most rolls are at least good. There's a use for each roll, but let's be honest, with the buff to Vorpal is the way to go for Dead Man's Tale right now. Hawkmoon, I couldn't even begin to tell you. Sorry, we don't play with hand cannons. And then, wait, before you go, what about those exotic catalysts? Hawkmoon, Dead Man's Tale, and Ager's Scepter catalysts will be moved to the playlist activity completions. In addition to these 3, we've also added the ability for 3 catalysts that have been absent from Destiny 2 to drop from playlist activities as well, including Outbreak Perfected, Whisper of the Worm, and the 4th Horseman. Outbreak Perfected and Whisper of the Worm have both had the requirements for completing their catalysts updated so they can be completed without access to the original activity. Thank God. We have been asking now for 14 months, when can I have these catalysts?
Right.
I'm very excited to have a reason to bust out Outbreak and Whisper of the Worm again.
I'm so happy, dude. I'm
very happy.
Love Outbreak Perfected.
Outbreak is the best feeling pulse in the entire game.
Yeah,
it's insane.
I mean, it's if I need a pulse rifle or just a primary to put on, that's what I'm using, right? Because I have right now I have the God Road roll Co Duello with like cluster seekers or whatever on it, and I use that in my heavy slot, and then I have been using what am I using in my secondary? In any case, I'm mostly using that as my exotic.
I still like to use Outbreak in the Crucible. I don't use it too much for PvE these days, because thank God for Messenger. But I am a Pulse guy. I like Pulses and Scouts for my primary most of the time. Very excited for this. And really, the last major thing, and well, we've got some stuff towards the end of the TWAB to talk about, but the Witch Queen raid. We don't have details on it yet. Those will be shared as we get closer. Additional details on contest mode, Bungie rewards, and other need-to-know information closer to the date. Until then, get those time-in requests off, because the Destiny 2 Witch Queen Redacted raid drops 10 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern on March 5th, 2022. That is the first Saturday of March. I have my day one team assembled, the same group that ran VOG with me on day one. Of course, you know them, you love them. A1 Johnny, Colonel Panic, and Nerd Generalist will be accompanying me on this fine expedition, along with our friends Matt and Phil. We are all really looking forward to this. We're hopeful that now, with a lot more experience with Grandmasters under our belt, clearing Grasp of Avarice, day one on the first try, things like that, that we will be prepared a little bit better going into this. We have 2 seasons of consistent Grandmaster experience and Master Nightfalls and stuff under our belts. We're ready. We've all built up our arsenals over the last few months. We're ready to go. Very excited to see what this takes. John will actually be joining us next week to discuss raid preparations and some theories on what we may be encountering in Savathun's Throne World when we go to slay a raid boss. And then as we get to the end of the TWAB this week, vacation on bounties. That's what we've got down here. I'm actually kind of surprised this is down here. Iron Banner bounties will not be removed at the end of the season. Bounties acquired and completed at any point during this season will be retained after the Witch Queen releases. Bounties retained from Season of the Lost will be capped at 1350 power and not give players any bonus power next season upon redemption. These bounties will be removed at the end of Season 16, as Saladin will be taking his turn in our rollout of vendor rework. So, there you have it. The second season of the Witch Queen Iron Banner rework is finally hitting. I'm very excited for
I'm
that.
also very excited for this.
Very excited.
Hope they do exactly what they did with Trials.
That is my ideal for every vendor eventually. Reward, at least with Zavala with the Nightfall rewards. I think there's a really good opportunity there for it. And the final Iron Banner of the season will be during the final week of Season of the Lost. That means we probably have 2 more Iron Banners remaining. Seasonal bounties related to Season of the Hunt, Chosen, Splicer, and Lost will be removed at the end of the season. Bounties from the Tangled Shore will be removed at the end of the season. Some daily bounties from general activities or destinations may be removed depending on objective or reward balancing on a per bounty basis. Example, a handful of Drifter and Gunsmith bounties are being looked at alongside some vendor work. Oh dear, did we just confirm the Drifter is getting a pass? Well, that shouldn't be a surprise. We are tinkering with Gambit in Season 16, and more on that in the future. Rule of thumb, if you do not want to lose your rewards, we recommend that you turn in your bounties before a new year of Destiny contents hits the servers. While some of you are looking to rank up your artifact a bit faster than others, we expect many of your mod unlocks to come from completing the campaign and jumping into quests and activities afterwards. Take your time, you'll unlock all the goodies, we have no doubts. I'm very excited.
I'm so excited.
This TWAB got me pumped. It seems pretty inconsequential when you look at like the length of this, but that is a lot of dense information there. It's definitely better than what we got last week, where we got 2 quick paragraphs and it incited a firestorm across the internet. This seems, I say seems because I am afraid to look at the reactions on Reddit. I've only seen the ones on Twitter and in my circle, and they've all been very positive so far, which I really like, thank God. I think all of us that we play with, I talked to a lot of people that we play with today, Corey, and everybody seemed to be very happy like us about these changes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely a quick turnaround from last week, I would say. Jeez.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I like this. These are very good quality of life changes that I think like a lot of like the nerds are happy about, so to speak. These are things that a lot of us have been asking for. The very dedicated fan base has been asking for a while. Maybe casuals don't really notice it as much, but trust me, I've noticed. We're gonna have like half of that inventory screen opened up when Witch Queen launches now. So I'm very happy about that. Looking forward to it. At this point, just take them and dismantle them. I don't care. Auto dismantle them so I don't have to in my inventory and then complain that I'm missing things again. I'm really hoping that we get some news on Void 3.0 and maybe weapon crafting going forward, though. I don't suspect we'll get too much about weapon crafting until maybe the week before. But Void 3.0, I expect in early February we'll get like more breakdowns on it. Just so, and some clarification on how we're going to unlock like aspects and artifacts and stuff for that. I can't imagine you're going to have to re-earn all the abilities you already have. If you do, they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there's just no way you can ask people to do that while preparing for a raid. There's no way.
Yeah.
But we have an actual topic this week, Corey.
We do.
Because they were so kind to give us an advance warning. I'm looking to see how long we've been going. All right, I'll make this semi-quick.
It's okay. We already said this was going to be a packed show, Josh. They're ready.
It's been a packed
They're
show.
strapped
We're through
in.
two of our four big things. We're good. We're about the halfway point, people.
Halfway.
I was going through this week and trying to make a list for a friend of the show, Ray Apollo. Ray's a bit of a lapsed Destiny player. I love him, but he's missed a few seasons. He played Beyond Light and then kind of skipped the seasonal content. Decided he wanted to come back during Season of the Lost and, due to various family circumstances, work, the holidays, the whole 9 yards. Hasn't really been able to do a whole lot of prep, but he's really stoked for Witch Queen, right? Bought the collector's edition and everything. He's in. He's back. And he was asking me, what are the things I should be focused on doing? Like, what are the weapons I should get? What are the activities I should do? What's going away? We wrapped up Malfeasance the other night because he was trying to solo the strike by himself, which is still like really brutal, even with 2 or 3 people. Like, it's like a Master Nightfall level strike. It's pretty rough. Corrupted is. That's the one you have to do for it. You have to go through like 2/3 of the strike. We took him through. We did another run of Presage for another Dead Man's Tale for him before we knew all this information, obviously. And it's refreshing now that we don't have to kill ourselves to do Master version to get him a Catalyst. But I was thinking through, like, what are the essential things if I sat down and said, these are what you should do before they get removed? And what I came out to is this. If you have not done Harbinger or Presage, do whatever you have to do to get those missions unlocked and do them immediately. They are by far and away the best things that were added this year. They showed that exotic quests can be engaging, fun, and unique and creative. And they were very replayable. You never felt like it was a chore. Well, maybe you felt like Harbinger was a little bit. That one can get a little rough. It can be a little long and tedious with the boss rotation each week. But Presage, that's in and out in 15-20 minutes. It's great. The random rolled exotics, the audio logs, the collectibles you could find all gave me a reason to keep playing week after week. I think I ran it every week for like 14 weeks, getting people through and getting my own collectibles. It's been a real treat. I would say if you have not done it yet, it's not going away, but I think personally it's an essential thing to do this year is Grasp of Avarice. Get your Gallarhorn, get your Gallarhorn Catalysts. Gallarhorn's going to be used a lot in the coming year. I'm very excited. And Grasp of Avarice is just really fun. It's a pretty chill dungeon as long as you are of the appropriate light level and can do a very simple mechanic. You should be good to go. The next thing I would say is the expunges. I really like the expunge in Season of the Splicer. I think those are very unique with the aesthetic, with the layouts, and I really like the final mission, expunge Delphi, which is where you fight Quora. So if you are Quoria, or you fight Quoria, that's important for story purposes. That's one of Savathun's top lieutenants. That's actually very important. Recommend that everybody at least goes through to do it for that. The Season of the Hunt storyline. A lot of these are seasonal storylines that are ending, obviously. Season of the Hunt storyline is pretty bad, but it ends with a cool mission, I think, where you hunt the knight that nearly kills Osiris / Savathun at the beginning of Season of the Hunt when Crow shows up. The High Celibate, that's where you're chasing at night through the Dreaming City and the Ascendant Plane, jumping back and forth with Crow. That's very cool. I think it's got some great dialogue, and of course, if you've never finished it, the cutscenes at the end where Crow leaves Spider to head to the tower is very, very cool as well. Beyond that, like individual quests, I would say for exotics that came out this year, both in Beyond Light and in the expansions, I definitely think that obtaining Aegir's Scepter is very important. We've already covered, obviously, the two or three big name exotics, but Aegir's Scepter is very, very good. Get Aegir's Scepter. If you haven't gotten Lament, get Lament. It's not going away, but it's handy in tough spots, and it's intrinsically anti-barrier. We want as many of those types of weapons as possible in our arsenal. And I would say do all of your vendor quests. So get your Null Composures, get your Adoreds, your Salvage your Salvos. If you haven't reset any of your ranks this season, I highly recommend grinding out. I think Crucible is probably the quickest. Grind out Crucible. I think Mayhem is up this week. Grind out Mayhem, and like the next time that Momentum Control is up, grind those out. Those matches go quickly. You can lose your way to Ascendancy in a handful of hours. You can do it across a couple days. Highly recommend you get all four of the seasonal weapons. They all serve a purpose and are all very, very, very good.
Yes, they are
almost all top of their class. Null Composure is probably the best fusion, best legendary fusion in the game right now. Salvage your Salvo is, I would say, the best breech-loaded grenade launcher, with chain reaction and Ambitious Assassin built into it. Of course, you can swap chain for Vorpal. There's a lot there. I know a lot of us with Particle Deconstruction this season have been pairing Null Composure with Sleeper Stimulant or with Threaded Needle. Threaded Needle.
Yeah, that's what I do.
It works. We were basically one-phasing the Master Grasp of Avarice boss. That's how quickly we were going through it. And then two kind of cleanup items, two housekeeping items. One, do not forget, and I will say this every week until we're done. Do not forget your free 700 Bright Dust every single week at Eververse. Get your Bright Dust. Get your free Space Bucks. I personally have been on a spending spree as of late. I'm down to 85,000 Bright Dust, down from my 100K. At one point, I thought I was going to get back up, and then I bought a whole bunch of emotes. So, and then do your transmog bounties. Get your free transmog tokens. You can hold up to 15 of them, I believe. Spend a few if you're about to have your cup runneth over. Go get some of that dungeon armor and master or transmog it. Get some raid armor. A lot of this stuff is really accessible now. Do some of your seasonal stuff if there's pieces you like. I personally really like the Season of the Splicer set myself. And some of the Iron Banner stuff, some of the trial stuff. All this is really accessible. that kind of concludes it for, I think, for activities. I think those are the main things you want to do. And as a side note, I would say wrap up any catalysts you're working on, especially sleeper. The sleeper catalyst changes the game. It halves the charge time, and it gives you an extra round in the chamber. So that's pretty important, I think, for a gun that takes like half an eternity to charge. And is, simply put, it's the best heavy in the game right now for PvE. So I would really recommend that you do that. Dares is a perfect place to go knock it out. You can get it done in like 4 or 5 runs. Otherwise, it's extremely tedious to get Sleeper Stimulant done. But with the unlimited heavy ammo, you can get in there if you play your cards right. You get Star Horse Favor. You can just blow through that. The Gallarhorn Catalyst, Aegir Scepter. I've done 5 or 6 catalysts in the last couple weeks. As for guns that I think that people should chase. So I highlighted my top picks here as Chroma Rush, Threaded Needle, Extraordinary Rendition, Falling Guillotine. I know most of us have Falling Guillotine at this point, but you can still decrypt it in the Splicer section. Mm-hmm. Hung Jury. Those are kind of my top picks right now. But as for other ones, so I'm going to break them down by source just in case you're curious. Cartesian Coordinate is a world drop, or you can get it. You can specifically try to get it out of Season of the Splicer Ingrams. Chroma Rush you can get from Splicer Ingrams, or the Splicer Ingram in Season of the Lost. Code Duello, you can only get that from the Chosen Ingrams, and that can be a real pain because you have to go get the hammer charges and get your hammer upgraded and all the bullshit that comes with that. It's really kind of aggravating. I think the other 2 sections are Splicer and Lost are much more accessible, but unfortunately that's the only way to get Code Duello, and that is if you get Impulse Amplifier with Lasting Impression. That's the perk I'm thinking of. If you get it with both of those, nobody's gonna say no, you can't come hang out with us, because that's what you're running instead of Clown Cartridge, Moving Target, Royal Entry. Nobody's going to scrutinize that like the second or third best rocket in the game's history, probably, in terms of legendary status.
Yeah.
So it dwarfs other Royal Entries. The only reason that one's better is because of Clown Cartridge. That's literally it.
Right.
I still use my Code Duello quite a bit. I used it on my I 2-manned the dungeon with our friend Matt, and that's what I took in was Code Duello. Let's see here. I have Threaded Needle on their next, of course, Chosen Ingrams in either Chosen or in Season of the Lost. It's important to note the ones from Hunt, Lost, and Splicer or Hunt, Chosen, and Splicer that are in Lost have one of 3 weapons. Not all the weapons are in there. That is important to note. So if you want specific weapons that are not one, and they don't tell you what the 3 are up front either. But that's why I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos, I've read some guides to figure out where things drop from specifically, so you guys know as well. I would say you got 2 bows next. You've got Imperial Needle, which drops out of the Chosen Ingrams, and Wolf Tone Draw, which drops out of Lost Ingrams. Just good legendary bows to have, good perk pools on them. Deafening Whisper, the breech-loaded grenade launcher with blinding nades and Ambitious Assassin, drops from Hunt Ingrams in Season of the Lost, or you can go calibrate your lure if you're really hankering to do some Wrathborn hunts. Extraordinary Rendition drops from Chosen Ingrams in either Chosen or Lost. Grid Skipper, the pulse rifle, the 540 pulse, drops from Splicer Ingrams. Just a great option to have in your back pocket for an energy pulse. Falling Guillotine, of course, we already discussed that. That is a world drop, and you can get it from Sword Ingrams in Splicer. You have a 1 in 3 chance of getting that, getting your class sword, or getting Temptation's Hook, the caster frame. Mm-hmm. And then I would say Brass Attacks, which is a Void. I like sidearms a lot, so a Void sidearm from the Chosen Ingrams. we're gonna go through my whole list, and then we're gonna get to what our friends added onto this, because a lot of us were pretty much in agreement on weapons.
Right.
Playlist guns, dungeons, etc. For everything. I would say from Iron Banner, there's 2 sidearms that I really like in Iron Banner. Peace Bond and Fool's Remedy, I think are both really good. Fool's Remedy is basically a solar version of Last Hope, which I really liked. And it's the Iron Banner version of Punching Out, which is a playlist weapon now. I still really like Punching Out, but I think Fool's Remedy is just ever so slightly better. Royal Entry is the rocket launcher that drops from the Strikes playlist. I would say that and Third Axiom are probably the best, just straight up like regular Strikes playlist weapons you can get. A lot of people were high on Bottom Dollar earlier in the season, but this list kind of excludes hand cannons because I'm not a hand cannon guy, really. I know AS Luna is a good one to chase right now, and Volpeka, and we're going to talk about those in just a minute from our friend A1 Johnny. But I'm not the guy to ask about hand cannons, unfortunately. My pick from Gambit is Servant Leader, the 260 Scout Rifle.
Servant Leader is awesome.
Especially with anti-barrier Scout mods coming back next season. I think that this is going to be a Nightfall staple, the way that I was using Chroma Rush this year.
Right, yeah.
That and Trustee, I think, are going to be 2 absolutely essential Scout rifles.
Yeah.
I was trying to keep it to non-raid or trials weapons to make this as accessible to everybody. Maybe John and I will go over some endgame weapons that, if you have the capability to, that you should pursue on next week's episode. Nightfall weapons. I think the Nightfall pool is pretty good. I think most of them are actually worth having a roll of. I'm a lot higher on Shadow Price than almost any other person I've met.
I like Shadow
If you
Price.
have I have 4 times the charm on mine, for example, on my Adept one, and I think it's a pretty dang good auto rifle. But obviously, it's not the end-all, be-all. 450s are in a really, really rough place. You gotta. It's a choice. It's not meta or anything, but like we say, who knows what's going to change. I personally would just have a roll of it just in case. I don't think 450s are going to be a huge deal. I think still the 600s, like Falling or like Gnawing Hunger, and the 720s like Chroma Rush are going to be better just for those anti-barrier perks that will inevitably come back. I'm running Chroma Rush in the Master Dungeon when I run it, for example. That's my primary, because it shreds those anti-barrier shields so quickly, especially if you've got another person firing with anti-barrier or something. But my picks from the Nightfalls are Hung Jury, which are available the week of January 19th, so right now. And they will be available again. It will be available again the final week of the season on February the 15th.
Yes.
The Uzume sniper rifle is available the week of January 25th for the final time this season. So that's next week. Next Tuesday is the final Tuesday. The 25th through February the 1st is the final time you can earn the Uzume this season, as well as Plug 1. We should have the catch-up node for Grandmasters next week. I really, fingers crossed, hope we do, so everybody has a chance to go grind out one of the super easy GMs. But since it's not here in the TWAB, I'm getting kind of nervous that it's not going to be there, unfortunately. I do think that those are both worth getting. Plug 1 is great in damage, but it takes quite a while to charge. If you can get Adept, though, you get the Adept charge time mod, I think it makes it a lot better. I personally really like my Adept Plug 1, but I'm not going to choose it over Null Composure necessarily. I just like to have a variety of options personally, and I think we don't know how they're going to do Nightfall weapons. If some of these are going to be retired, I would have hoped they would tell us now if some of them were going to be taken out of the rotation, because that'd be kind of shitty to do it after the last time to get them has already passed. Prophecy is worth running, guys. Last Breath is a auto rifle you can get out there. It's a 600 RPM. Again, I like 600 RPMs. I think they feel really, really good right now as far as legendary auto rifles go. Darkest Before is a 540 pulse that can drop from there. Again, just another absolutely banger weapon recommendation. If you're looking for something to pierce those champion shields, or to, stun them or whatever, when pulses are in the rotation, Darkest Before is a great option. And then my final three are all world drops. Gnawing Hunger, we've already said. Slug Shotties aren't really the meta anymore, but they are still good to keep in your back pocket for those pesky raid bosses, because they are still good on several raid bosses. First in, last out, I would recommend. And then my final world drop that I recommend to all of you is the Ikelos SMG. I think personally it's the best legendary SMG in the game, but it is unfortunately in that secondary slot as an arc weapon, so hence the Extraordinary Rendition recommendation earlier on. Corey, before we jump into what some of our friends recommended, do you have anything that did not hit on that list that you think is going away or has the chance to go away that we should chase a god roll while we can?
I mean, I think you pretty much hit all of them. I really love I really love the Dead Man's Tale. I really love the Scout Rifle from Gambit. I think you pretty much hit everything, and finding the right roles for you, I think is all these are really accessible to get, right? And like you said, and I think a lot of them are worth chasing. I really love Hung Jury. It's been my favorite scout rifle since the Taken King, right? When Dead Orbit sold the god roll for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
It was great. That's still one of just like quietly the best things.
I think that's when everybody found out that Firefly was like the best perk ever.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I don't know. I think you hit all of them, honestly. There's so many great weapons available at this point. Like, it feels like the game is more balanced than it ever has been in a way, because there's so many great weapons out there with so many great rolls, right? So, and some of them might be getting boosted with new perks coming next season. So,
right, and that's the thing. Like, I'm kind of trying to think like, what are just reliable weapons to have,
Scout
and also
rifles.
what are weapons that we already know the champion mods for. Hence my recommendations for so many Scout and Pulse rifles. I want to read some of what our friends shared with us.
Let's do it.
So A1 Johnny, I asked him for his top 5 weapon recommendations that you can get out of the Umbral Engram Decoder right now, and he gave me reasons for all of them. So I want to do him some due justice and read them. Number 1, Chroma Rush, easily the best in slot kinetic auto, and ARs almost always have a champion mod. Cosign. That's why it was our number 1 pick. Ignition Code, the only grenade launcher in the game that can get slide shot. Slide shot, of course, you slide and you auto reload. Vespicula, like ARs, hand cannons are commonly on the champ mods, and Headstone is actually an S tier perk in PvE. Completely cosign. Of course, you guys have heard me talk about my Peace Bond that I like running with my stasis build. That is one of my go-to primaries right now is Peace Bond. And then he only gave me 4. God bless him. We jumped from 3 to 5. Threaded Needle. We'll have to see where it lands in the new sandbox, but my money is that linears will still be a solid DPS option even without particle deconstruction. We co-signed that, and I think Bungie's pretty much said as much also. And other than Reed's Regret, Clown Cartridge Vorpal Threaded Needle is the heaviest hitting non-exotic linear you can get. So there you have it. That's the god roll to get right there. That's if you want to dump your Umbral Engrams and spend a lot of seasonal currency this season, buy Chosen Engrams from the Season of the Lost page and just dump them into this until you get one of these rolls. Of course, getting god rolls is usually a season-long pursuit, so I don't know. You got to have some uncanny luck here. With 3 or 4 weeks left, I kind of wish we would have done this right before Christmas, but I was not thinking properly. For what it's worth, I don't know if all these weapons are going to go away, especially the Season of the Lost weapons like Vulpecula. I do think that those are probably going to end up in the world loot pool or have some element of crafting, maybe not this season right away, but the next season. And then honorable mention to Code Duello if you don't have a decent Royal Entry Hothead roll, and shout out to Fractalist, the shotgun from this season. It's an excellent option for Crucible if that's your thing. It's smooth as butter. You can't force them with Umbrals, but Deafening Whisper, the grenade launcher from Season of the Hunt. You can actually force it. Oh, yeah, we found this out after he sent it to me. I suggest everyone suffers through the hunts for one of these rolls. That actually may be a guaranteed way to get it is if you go do some hunts. So pick the super easy one on Tangled Shore and just do it repeatedly with that as your chosen reward. Only waveframe grenade launcher in the game, surprisingly useful for endgame. And as we move forward with Void 3.0, matching your weapons to your subclass is going to be more and more important. And he did have one final recommendation. That is that, and I think this applies to everybody, not just Warlocks, but if you have a support super especially, weapons with Thresh. Those Thresh helps recharge your super a lot quicker. It's like on Scouts and Pulses personally. I know something like them on hand cannons. I think it's a great little perk, especially if you already have fast super regen or you have an exotic like Mantle of Battle Harmony that charges it quicker. But I'll get into a little bit more with builds with John next week while he's here when we're talking raid builds. He's going to help me out from a Titan and Warlock prep perspective since he plays both of those classes. And of course, I am a diehard hunter, so I will kind of present what I'm angling to have in my inventory on day one.
I'll be looking forward to that conversation from John.
It's going to be a great one.
Titan is me.
Titan. Nerd Generalist. Hit me up. John completely forgot to tell me about activities, of course.
Of course.
Love him. He forgot. That's okay. No worries. We got talking about
Gosh, John.
Yeah, God, John. We'll just corner him next week and ask him. Nerd Generalist says activities that are going away that he would recommend. Expunge, because of the visuals and pacing, totally co-sign. I also think Season of the Splicer probably had the best individual storyline of the seasons.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Especially with Mithrax and Saint there at the end. And just the whole story between those two is so great.
That whole cutscene at the end was just awesome.
The cutscene at the end, the legend of the Saint, told by Mithrax, is harrowing.
Yeah.
And then he says the empty lost sector on the Tangled Shore. If you've never experienced it or if you want to do it one more time, that's the one that plays Hope for the Future from Paul McCartney. The Fallen nightclub and like fight club that you find. I completely forgot about that. I'm gonna have to go Lost Sector again because I haven't done it in a long time, and I do really enjoy that one. I would say do all the Lost Sectors again one more time on the Tangled Shore. I think most of them are pretty decent for Lost Sectors.
Yeah, they're decent.
And then he says, for of course, everybody who's listening to this has already played this, but that opening Forsaken mission with Cade, roll call. That or last call, whatever it is just
the scene where he's slow motion
incredible.
riding the thing down the hole as it's falling down the shaft, and Petra's just staring at him, and he's like waving Ace of Spades.
Still one of my all-time favorite reaction gifts that I send to people. To this day, 4 years later, I'm still sending it to people. Very excited. And then Colonel Panic was working while we were having this discussion. I'm looking through our group text. I don't think he had really anything other than definitely like Deadman's, especially now at the Catalyst. They also had the same recommendation. Chroma Rush, an extraordinary rendition. They liked them, got tired of them. Aegir Scepter in the club. And yeah, so there you have it. That's kind of my recommendation for activities that everybody should get done, and weapons that you should try and get good rolls of. I didn't really spend time going into God rolls because I think these weapons are good enough on their own that nothing is like super detrimental, and everybody has a different play style. But there are some perks that are definitely better than others. So we talked about some of the ones for heavies. I like to play a little off meta with my primaries and secondaries, just because like you're using the heavies for DPS. Well, I think that those are more customizable to a play style as opposed to heavies, where I want what's going to do the most effective damage right then and there.
Right.
Whereas the others, like I play around with a lot of trials and raid weapons. Like I said, John and I will come up with a list next week of the top raid and raid trials and dungeons weapons that you should go get. But it's going to look something like if you have the ability to get a good messenger. We're talking Desperado or Rapid Hit on it. We're talking like I have Rapid Hit 1 for all on my regular and on my Adept one, and I really like. I don't have Desperado, but I like this roll a whole lot. Throw on your targeting adjuster with it; it's great. Shayura's Wrath is one that you're going to want to look at. Reed's Regret, of course. I can't talk enough about Reed's Regret. That's why we were all grinding so much Trials at the beginning of the season. Trials Armor. There's a good chance we're getting a new set of Trials Armor early in the Witch Queen. So I would say go get that armor if you want it for transmogging purposes. I'm still upset that I don't have the original Trials chest piece, for instance. Don't be like me. Get all your Trials armor. Coming out of the raids, I mean, Vault. I don't know that anything in Vault is really like meta. I think Hez and Vengeance is a very good option. Vision of Confluence is an awesome scout rifle. I don't know if if either one of them are necessarily best in class, but they're very good options. Of course, we talked about a couple prophecy weapons, and then Deepstone Crypt, Succession, and Trusty are my big ones coming out of that raid.
Mm-hmm. Trusty, for sure.
We will get A1 Johnny in here to break all of that down with us next week. That'll be one of the many topics that we get into as we welcome him back. Corey, no final thoughts on weapons or activities that we should all do before they are vaulted, or potentially vaulted in the case of weapons?
No, I mean, we kind of hit him, right? Like, I think Presage is definitely the one everybody should at least try. You know, that the reward at the end is awesome. The story through the mission is awesome. The puzzles inside the mission are awesome. If you haven't done it yet, it's just really cool. I really recommend Presage. I think that is probably one of my favorite missions that Bungie has ever done.
Right.
So, yeah, it's definitely
my computer froze there for a second.
I know. I heard the Skype beep. So sorry everybody who's listening. Not editing it out. It was like 2 seconds. But yeah, Presage is definitely up there with the original Outbreak Perfected mission for me in terms of like the best content they've done like ever. So definitely do that.
Definitely do that. We're going to shift into Lore Corner.
Lore Corner.
We're going to continue. Lore Corner. We're going to shift. We're going to continue to talk about Savathun for the next couple of weeks. Kind of reading all over the place. I want to be clear. We are using Ishtar Collective's curated section as kind of a guide here, because those probably are the most essential pieces. And just when a story is spread out across 6 or 7 years, it's very challenging to get it all in one place. And I think these guys have just done an amazing job at it. So shouts to Ishtar Collective, helping me in my lore research. We were originally going to do a whole Savathun episode, but then I realized I needed to fill like 6 more weeks of Lore Corner. So you're gonna get her, and you're gonna get some stuff. The Exorcism should be happening here pretty soon. We're gonna hopefully get some more lore out of that. And yeah, we're going to have some packed weeks leading into Witch Queen, so I'm kind of trying to get it out of the way now. So I'm not like, oh, well, we'll do it before the Witch Queen, and then get overloaded with information, like I have done famously multiple times in the past. So this first one is from the Truth to Power book of Forsaken. Asud M. Now, the Truth to Power book are messages that are supposed to be from Eris. But it's really Savathun impersonating Eris to the Guardian. She pretty much admits as much in the book, and trying to get us to do her bidding, essentially. You must be terribly confused. I'm sorry I couldn't be more help. After I crashed, I rebooted on a safe physical backup in the Dreaming City. It took me too long to penetrate Quaria's simulation and get you free, and I ask for your forgiveness. I understand what's happening here. Oryx took the Ahamkara Riven, who then fell into Savathun's claws. She devised a scheme to use Riven as bait. By inviting guardians into the Dreaming City, then focusing the will of a group of powerful guardians upon Riven, she tricked you into making a wish. A desire to alter objective reality to conform with our subjective need to save the city. Riven fed on that wish in order to breach the Dreaming City's defenses and invite Dul and Karu inside. Dul and Karu and her Taken are simply scouring the city for awoken secrets. You don't need to fret a greater agenda. Remember that you face an agent of Savathun. It's to her advantage to make you see schemes and conspiracies everywhere you look. The 3-week loop must be a fail-safe measure to keep Dul and Karu safe as she pursues her mission. In a sense, this entire city has been rendered deterministic. Only paracausal guardians have any free will here. The Awoken have been touched by greater power, so they are aware of their preordination, but they cannot alter it. I'm certain Aquaria is behind this loop as a Taken Vex. It's capable of pathological subversions of reality. I'll continue working on a countermeasure. I've been correlating information on the Ahamkara and hive worm parasites. Both display a peculiar ability to convert the host's intent into an onomorphic reality-altering effect. Both use similar language. I just lost my... It's so much. Both use similar language in their appeal to the host. I don't think they're the same species, however. The hive worms spawn large numbers of young form free, relatively few adults, always display the same physical form, and live in communal groups. The Ahamkara is solitary, elusive, and seem to alter form to suit or confuse expectations. The shared syntax, "O blank mine," may be the key. It seems to be a shibboleth used to invoke an onomorphic effect, placing the target in a cage of O, activational, specific, appealing, and naming, and mine, defining ownership and subordination. Ahamkara and worm may have evolved separately to exploit this effect, just as many species independently evolve eyes. This may place them in competition for the same ecological niche. I would expect a rivalry or antipathy between them. Don't be led astray by Quaria's misinformation. You must continue to hold the Dreaming City as long as you can. The things I said to you about black holes and the purpose of guardians were forced on me by Quaria. I'll be here when you need me next, I promise. Transmission ends. So, that's terrifying.
Yep. Terrifying. Scary. Don't need
it's
that.
It's not great. No, not great at all. That is the... that is actually the begin. It's one of the pieces in that book. I don't think it's. I'm trying to determine where at in the book that it actually is, and I don't know. But anyways, that is that's one of them, kind of showing the cunning of Savathun in a lot of ways. Yeah. To put it mildly, it's showing her cunning.
Right.
So the next one we're going to read is also from Forsaken, from Season of the Drifter. It's called Stolen. It's from the Stolen Intelligence book. Is it? Hang on. I may have opened up the wrong thing on accident.
Uh-oh. Josh opened up the wrong tab. Wrong lore.
Hang on. I want to make absolutely certain.
Hold on to your butts.
Before I open this up. Nope. This is the right one. Sorry. This is why we follow Ishtar Collective. This is one that doesn't really talk about Savathun specifically, but it implicates her without naming her. Obviously, Anor does not know who Savathun is at the time when they're writing this book. But basically, this is going to confirm that Savathun is indirectly responsible for Cade's murder. Mm-hmm. Following the events of the Red War and the recent loss of the Hunter Vanguard, current acting Vanguard leadership has struggled to define its function and role within what is an otherwise largely egalitarian and self-governing body of active guardians. Much like the current popular perception of the Awoken Queen, we have failed to adequately respond to questions about our integrity, competence, and unity as we have grieved the loss of the Hunter Vanguard. The Vanguard was never intended as a governing body of authoritarians, nor does it function as such. But in times of turmoil and uncertainty, people rightly look to figures of strength for guidance and support. Neither the Titan Vanguard nor I ever intended to become politicians. We are warriors first and foremost, and we no longer feel that we are able to serve as such. In the spirit of honest self-reflection in the face of justified skepticism, we have begun to discuss the possibility of stepping down to invite new leadership into our place, as well as the general merits of disbanding the Vanguard entirely, largely because we believe this crisis of identity will plague anyone who steps into this role. We recognize this is ill-timed, and we endeavor to involve the consensus, the Guardians themselves, and all other interested parties in the discussion as appropriate. I specifically invite the Hidden to closely monitor the situation without my involvement. Should you agree we are doing more harm than good, please do not hesitate to take whatever actions you agree are necessary. Regarding the open Hunter Vanguard position in the terms of Cade's dare, the situation is unprecedented. We are able to trace the chain of culpability back to its first link. I believe we would be obligated to elect a hive god to our council. So, they've confirmed it's Savathun, essentially. Our current inclination is to caucus with the hunters to debate the beliefs of opening the position to any interested and well-qualified hunter. Such a debate is, of course, contingent upon the continued existence of the Vanguard itself. We will make an effort to convene the hunters as soon as possible, but this group should be well aware that the most credible candidates have fled the tower in anticipation of such a debate. All right, sorry, had to take a phone call. We are actually going to end Lore Corner there tonight. I'm going to save the third one for next week.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I want to save the next one for next week, and then we'll get into that. But just kind of some things to ponder. That Savathun's been behind basically all of the things that we've gone through in Forsaken, Shadowkeep, and obviously the seasonal events of Beyond Light. She's been behind basically everything that's happened. I mean, we knew Savathun was coming back in Vanilla Destiny 2 with Savathun's song, and we've obviously reached the pinnacle of it this season with her talking to us through a rock. So,
yeah.
Yeah, there's not much left. That should be hitting its end here. Not this next reset, but the week after. February 1st is when we're projecting it to finish.
Cool.
So,
I'm excited, dude. I'm so excited to see what's going to happen.
I'm curious. I have no idea where we're going at this point.
Yeah.
This is uncharted waters. Usually we kind of have an idea going into an expansion of what will probably happen. We have no idea right now other than they stole the light and what the hell happened.
Right. Like how? Like that's the big question is how, right?
And I mean, surely it's coming during the exorcism. So.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see, but I'm excited. I'm excited to definitely see all the story change, like what's happening in the story, and the crafting changes and all the stuff kind of come together in about 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So very exciting. But I think that's gonna do it.
I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Let's get out of here.
All right, Josh, I appreciate your time tonight. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Tower Casuals. You can email the show at towercasuals@gmail.com. Remember, if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, to leave us a 5-star review and a nice rating. It really helps us out. We really appreciate it. Josh, where can we find you?
Twitter, at Josh_Finn. I'm probably trying to explain business acquisitions to people. Or, freaking out about blues not dropping after 1300.
Blues. I'm blue. Da-ba-dee-da-ba-da.
I hate you. Get us out of here.
You can find me at I am Corey at HD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me hosting other podcasts like the Boss Rush podcast or Arsenal X the Xbox podcast, which Josh was a wonderful guest on and might appear in the future. So thank you everybody for watching and or listening. We will see you next week on Tower Casuals. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.